Welcome back, family. I hope you enjoyed this past week. The market started to rally right at the end of Friday, but it's been a terrible 3 weeks. Everything's been down. But I hope you have ended up green for the last past 3 weeks. And if you have, man, you're doing an amazing job. But welcome back to the last and final installment of your Wealthy Wallet Wall Street course. And here today, we're going to talk about how to use what you know. Because, over the past 12 weeks, we have definitely learned a lot, starting with how to do technical analysis. First starting with understanding what the stock is and what the stock market is, and then understanding how to do technical analysis, and then moving to how to do fundamental analysis, and then learning how to read financial statements in order that you can invest in a company properly. So, as we learn that, how do we use this? How do we take this information and this data that we know and invest into companies that we see every day or companies that we use or buy from every day? How do we take this knowledge that we have learned? How do we take the knowledge of technical analysis? How do we take the knowledge of fundamental analysis and use this in our everyday investing? Well, I broke it down into three easy steps for you. The first step is first learning how to understand, as I talked about in previous courses, that I live by when investing in any stock is current events, common sense, and calculation. And we're going to start off talking about current events today. So, the definition of current events: important events that are currently happening in the world today. You want to stay up on so much news. You want to feed yourself with news every single day because it's the news that is going to make you money. Remember in the course that we talked about buy the rumor and sell the news. But in order to know the rumor, you got to be in the field. You got to be in the circle. You got to be reading. You got to be up on things. You got to know what's going on around the world, right? You got to know what current events are happening. When you walk in the store and you see people are buying one specific product and a lot of one specific product, that's a current event that's occurring. You got to look at what's going on around the world. What's happening? What are these politicians doing? What is everybody buying into? What is everybody shopping at? What current events are going on? What is everybody entertained about? You literally got to look in your everyday life for what's happening in the moments that you are in. Do not take anything for granted around you because everything in life is an investment. If you see a certain amount of group going on, or if you see a trend going on here, invest in that trend. Find out the companies that are part of that trend because, again, you would have to learn how to invest in current events because current events are going to always make stock rise in price because of what's happening, right? So it's just like a current event, like Christmas, for instance. We know it's time to start looking at retailers like Amazon, who sells to everybody around the world, right? We know that their numbers is going to be large. Why? Because everybody want to buy something for Christmas. That's a current event. That holiday, Christmas holiday, that whole holidays itself is a current event that occurs that boosts the sales of retailers. So we look at these events. What else is going on? We know that since Joe Biden has got in office, a current event is going green. He wants to go green. So why don't we look at green companies that are looking to better the future of our world by not producing greenhouse gases, right? Or stirring out carbon emissions, right? So we look at these current events, we look at things as what's happening right now in the moment as we live, what trends are going on. Going green is a trend. It's going on, it's happening. Every company is investing in clean energy. So if we know clean energy is a current event, then we have to start paying attention to that current event of clean energy. People are trying to produce clean energy instead of energy that produces greenhouse gases, right? And if we paying attention to that, we understand that this is what's currently happening right now in the world. And also, we understand that, look, digital currency is becoming a big thing. More people are starting to talk about digital currency, right? A piece of code that has monetary, a piece of computer code that has monetary value, right? So if everybody's starting to talk about digital currency, we understand that that's a current event that's occurring and that's a trend that's occurring. Or you see NFTs, non-fungible tokens. If you don't know what non-fungible tokens is, go ahead and Google it and start studying that, because at the end of the day, that's a current event. That's something that is happening right now that's very important. And we also understand that as the world begins to open back up, right, entertainment is going to be a current event. Entertainment is going to be like never before. We start to look and understand these things based upon what's currently happening. So as the world starts to open back up, as city to city and major metropolitan cities start to open back up, what is that going to create? It's going to create the effect of gas going up as cruise lines start to open up, as more airplanes start to fly. There's going to be a more uses of oil, right? So we understand these are current events. Current events. You got to pay attention to everything that is going on around you, because everything is an event. And we invest into events because we understand that events are going to control what happens in the future. Current events are always going to help you be able to predict the future. So if the current events, I see a trend going on where everybody's investing in NFTs. If I see a current event where that's going on where everybody is investing in cryptocurrency, if I see a current event that everybody is trying, that the whole world is trying to move towards clean energy, though, if I see all these events happening and occurring before me, I want to get in those event in its infancy stages before it actually affects the stock market or any market in general, right? So we have to pay attention to what's currently happening. Pay attention to things going on around you, because at the end of the day, those things going on around you are going to affect businesses and the way that people operate. So if people start operating different, and you find that things are creating, that people's actions are creating a new trend, then we need to start taking a look at these new trends that are happening, because at the end of the day, remember, you want to get in on the ground floor. So if everybody's trying to move towards clean energy, then you need to find companies that are producing clean energy and get on them before you want to invest into stocks before they get popular, right? You want to invest in stocks before everybody know that it's going to blow up. That's why you want to, and that's why you need to understand current events. That's why all the information that we learn, right? Well, from technical analysis to fundamental analysis, now we need to use that information to start paying attention to current events, right? So if we know current, if everybody's going to start to try to invest into clean energy, let's go look at clean energy companies. You have the knowledge of technical analysis, and you also have the knowledge of fundamental analysis. Now let's see how these companies are doing on the technical analysis point, and let's see how they're doing from a fundamental standpoint, right? And then once you figure those things out, then you figure out the decision whether to invest or not, and to invest into these companies. But now that you have that knowledge, you understand it's time to start paying attention to what's currently happening in the world today, what's currently happening in your economy, what's currently happening on the planet, what's currently happening in your country. You got to start paying attention to these things. You have to start feeding yourself with news every single day. You cannot go a day without feeding yourself with so much information on news. Definitely watch, the stock channels in the morning. You got to feed yourself with news. That's the only reason. This is the only way you're going to know what's going on and what's happening in the world. Pay attention to politics. Pay attention to what these politics are to what these politicians are talking about. You have to know the information in order to invest properly. You got to know. Now that you know what you know, now it's time to go into other areas by getting the information from other sources. You got to know what's going on in the world today in order to properly invest into a stock. What's happening right now? What type of trends are going on? What's going on around me? What do I see people doing the most? You got to use when you walk in the store. What's happening? Pay attention to what's going on when you walk in the bank. What are people? Pay attention to what you see on social media. You got to start paying attention to these things, because at the end of the day, it's all news. And if you follow the news and you follow the trends, you will always figure out what to invest in, because you got to learn to start investing in current events, what's going on, what's currently happening, in the market, what's currently happening in the economy, what's currently happening around the world. You gotta pay attention to important events that are happening, that are currently going on right before your very eyes. So, how do we use the information that we currently learn? By paying first attention to current events. And then next, step number two is we got to start using common sense. So what is common sense? Common sense is sound and prudent judgment based on a simple perception of the situation or facts so far, right? So if the sound and prudent judgment based on a simple perception of the situation or facts so far. So common sense tells us then through current events that we cannot continue to use greenhouse gas products or carbon or products that produce carbon monoxide or products that pollutes the earth because it's going to cause global warming. Common sense tells me that we cannot continue to go the route to use these products if it's going to cause global warming and cause us to be that cause us to be endangered as a species. Then we have to pivot it and move towards something that is less uh, that brings us less exposures as human beings. So if common sense tells me that, and the perception of other people are also that, then it tells me that, hey, clean energy or renewable energy is definitely going to be a thing of the future because people understand that we are endangering our species by continuing to pollute the earth. And as we continue to pollute the earth, then we know that we become a danger to ourselves and to others. So everyone's perception is we cannot continue to sustain or go this way, or we all will end up dying, right? And so people's perception is that we got to continue to find out new ways how to create renewable energy and clean energy in itself instead of using, like this is why we create electric vehicles instead of ice engines, combustible engines, right? So if we learn how to produce clean energy, then we understand that this is the future of us. So perception should be is we cannot continue to go the route that's going to threaten our existence. We have to go a different route. So common sense would say uh, the current events of more electric vehicles and electric vehicle sales are increasing. But no, I'm sorry, we're going to go into that in the next lesson. But the perception, we buy the perception of other people, you know, because at the end of the day, we are social beings. We are all dependent from the time that we are born to the time we die. We are dependent and not independent. We depend on our mother when we are born to take care of us, and then we look up to society to figure out how they judge or not judge us or how we look in society's eyes. So from the time we are born, we are conditioned to become social beings. So that's why you have to pay attention to the things that are happening around you that everyone has in common. So people's perception of anything, the perception of every company is always going to determine the growth of a stock. If people believe that a stock will rise in the future, that's going to raise the price of the stock up. If their perception is that this company is going to file bankruptcy or die out, that's people perception. Then that company is going to lose, is going to decline in its stock price, right? So we, at the end of the day, stock is all about buying people perception. So if you pay attention to current events, that's going to give you an understanding of where people's perception is going. So if people perception is going towards clean energy, then you need to be common sense is saying, okay, everyone has this perception that we need to continue to innovate clean energy, right? We need to continue to innovate renewable energy because that's the future we move it into. And common sense also tells you that as each company continues to buy into cryptocurrency, the people's perception of cryptocurrency is that this is going to be our future currency. So you invest in a perception before it actually becomes reality, right? Because it's how all things start. So if we invest, so if people's perception is that we're going to move towards a cashless society, Common sense says, look at the things around me. Look at the current events around me. The current events around me are saying that people's perception is that we are going to a cashless society. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when it's going to happen, because we see people adopting current cryptocurrency as a form of monetary value. We see it happening every single day of our lives. That's why you're hearing so much talk about Bitcoin. That's why you're hearing so much talk about Ethereum. And now you're hearing a lot of talk about NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Why is this thing happening? It's because people's perception are changing of our current monetary system, right? And if people concept perception is changing of our current monetary system, common sense will tell you that look at the current events that are happening and going on. So it's time to invest in people's perception before it becomes a reality. Remember, you always want to get in stuff on the ground floor so that you can ride it to the ceiling. So again, we started out with current events, and then we moved to common sense, and then we moved to our final calculation. What is calculation? Calculation is an assessment of the risk and possibilities or effect of a situation or course of action. So now we got to stand back, okay? Now we see the current event that people are moving towards clean energy and renewable energy. And common sense tells us that these are the perceptions of the people around us because everybody is adopting electric vehicles. As a matter of fact, electric vehicles, the perception of this perception of clean energy is increasing in electric vehicles because electric vehicles sales are increasing 82% per year, while combustible engine or regular car gas cars are decreasing per year. So calculation tells us if EVs are increasing, people's more and more people are buying into a clean energy world, and less people are buying into carbon monoxide world, right? So common sense will tell us again that okay, if EV sales are increasing at 82% per year, and ICE engines, internal combustible engines, are decreasing in sales per year, then common sense tells us we need to put our money where the growth is, right? And this is why you do calculations. You calculate what's happening. Okay, let's analyze. Let's make an assessment of what's going on. Let's assess cryptocurrency. Okay, there are been a widespread adoption of cryptocurrency, right? Even the U.S. government and the currency controller of the U.S. is also allowing banks to be able to accept stable coins. So stable cryptocurrency based upon stable coins, right? So if that's happening, then we see that we are moving towards a cashless society. Common sense, I mean, current events, common sense, and calculations. This is how you got to live. You got to start assessing the things that you know and that everyone knows in common, right? So we pay attention to current events. What is people's perception? What is people's perception in common, right? And then let's calculate where their perception is leading us. So if that perception is leading the EV sector, electric vehicle sector to grow, then that's where we put our money. Because at the end of the day, we want our money where it's going to grow and not going to grow, right? This is how you evaluate these companies. So we put our money where we think it's going to grow. And you do that by paying attention to current events, taking a common perception in play, and then make an assessment of the risk. So if I invest this money in here and I know it's a growth company, and I know based upon the situation or course of action that people are taking, I know I'm going to make money, right? And this is what's happening. You got to start paying attention to the things around you. So remember, current events, common sense, and calculation. Current events, common sense, and calculation. So every stock you invest in, is this stock a part of a current event, a trending event, a growth event? Is this stock a part of our future? Okay. And then you move towards common sense. Is this the perception of people in common? Is this the perception of everyone? Is the majority is the majority perception that we're going to a green type world or a renewable type energy world? Is this the common perception of everyone? Okay. And what does the math say? What does my assessment say? Okay. Let's take a look at the numbers because again, the numbers don't lie. That's why I teach you how to read a financial statement. Let's take a look. Let's assess what's really happening. How fast? At what rate is clean energy going? At what rate is renewable energy going? At what rate is battery storage going? At what rate are all these things growing? And what rate and at what rate are our old way of living is decreasing, right? So current events, common sense, and calculation. This is what you should live by before you invest in any stock. What's happening and what's people's perception and what's my assessment on it after looking at all the data and all the numbers. Why should I invest in Apple? Why should I invest in Tesla? Why should I invest in Ulta? Why should I invest in this company? Or what current events or trends are going on that tells me I should invest in this company? And what is people common perception of this sector, the sector in whole? Because you want a bird's eye view. You don't want to just look at one company. So if you're looking at Ulta Beauty, you want to look at the whole cosmetic industry. Is the cosmetic industry growing as a whole? Because if the cosmetic industry is growing as a whole, then people's common perception is that it's going up, that more people are buying and more people are wearing makeup. So you got to start. It's literally just really, I say it again, common sense. So if the whole cosmetic industry is going up as a whole, its cosmetic sales is growing up as a whole. If it was a $2 billion industry last year, and now it's 2 years ago, and now it's a $4 billion industry, that tells me that more and more people are wearing cosmetics, right? That's what it tells you. It's common sense. There's people perception. And then, so since you calculated the numbers and you understand, and since you did an assessment of the numbers, then you understand that there's less risk and more possibilities and opportunities for my money to grow than it is for it not to grow. Because again, you are investing with current events, common sense, and calculation. What's happening? What's people's perception? And what does my analysis say? What is my assessment of it? What is the risk level? Right? This is how you invest into everything you invest in. Current events, common sense, calculation. Current events, common sense, calculation. And that leads me to my last and final thing, right? How do we use what we know? Let's talk about EV stocks. Let's talk about NEO, right? We talked about NEO on a couple slides ago, but let's talk about these are three stocks that I totally unequivocally believe in. NEO, NEO, NEO. And I told you that NEO will make money in half the time it took Tesla to make money. And it's actually an innovative electric vehicle company that is global. Tesla just now started going global. NEO started out global when they wanted to start, right? And Tesla, the same thing. These are popular EV companies. Do your assessment on it. Current events, electric vehicles are growing. Common sense tells me since electric vehicles are growing, we need to start looking at electric vehicles, right? Because Ford, GM, all these other companies are starting to create electric vehicles, and the calculations tell me that electric vehicles are growing at an 82% rate per year, right? So it's only a matter of time before electric vehicles catch up with ICE vehicles. And also current events tell me that most people are trying to stop the production of, combustible engine vehicles by 2035. So if that's going to happen, the only thing can happen is EV sales go up if they're going to stop the production of gas engine vehicles, right? So, and then BMix is a material-based company. They cannot build these cars without batteries, right? Batteries is the whole entire operation of these electric vehicles. And batteries cannot be built without certain raw materials such as nickel or lithium and iron and all these beautiful things. And B mix plays a part in that. B mix produces the minerals to create batteries, and batteries is what power electric vehicles. So it tells me why not invest in current events, common sense, and calculation tells me why not invest into these companies, right? Neil, widely adopted, globally adopted. Tesla, globally adopted. The materials that create the batteries, globally adopted. And find you some battery companies to invest in. Again, current events, common sense, and calculation, right? Current events, common sense, and calculation, right? And then that leads me to cannabis stock. Cannabis stock is growing too. So you got Sundown, Tilray, and Mary Jane, right? You got these companies, all three. But I understand that each state is starting to legalize marijuana. So if all these states and all these major metropolitan states are starting to legalize marijuana, marijuana is not going to do anything but what? Go up, because more businesses, more jobs, and more of all these things are going to be created when this stuff is legalized, right? So why not invest in these companies at the bottom or at the ground floor or at the infancy stage before the federal government legalized marijuana over the whole United States? So you're going to get in at the bottom. So again, these are current events that are happening, current events where more and more states are legalizing or making marijuana recreational and medicinal, right? So if more and more states are doing this and the federal government is talking about legalizing it and they're talking about decriminalizing marijuana, so common sense will tell you why you're not in it. Why are you not in it? When more and more people are starting to legalize it, right? Why are you not in it? So again, current events, common sense, and calculation. And crypto, they said it's only going to be 21 million Bitcoins created. And right now there's 18 million out there. Common sense tell me that if Bitcoin's at 50,000 right now, 54,000, and it's only going to be 21 million created, it's not going to go down in value, but up in value. And many analysts think Bitcoin will be $1 million within the next 5 years. So if it's going to be $1 million in the next 5 years, then I can get in at $50,000, or not even if you have that type of money laying around. What if you can only buy 1/10 of a Bitcoin, and that's $5,000? And if it goes to 1 million, that makes you $100 for investing $5,000. So current events, common sense, and calculation tells me I would be stupid not to invest in Bitcoin. Same with Ethereum. I think of Bitcoin as gold, and I think of Ethereum as oil, right? Most of your cryptocurrencies that are on the market today are powered by the Ethereum blockchain. So why would I not invest in Ethereum when most of all cryptocurrencies created are powered by the Ethereum blockchain? So current events, common sense, and calculation tells me to invest in Ethereum. And then you have XLM, which is a blockchain of Stellar, right? Which Amazon and the U.S. Government is also invested into. They're going to use is planning on using Stellar as this blockchain. It's also the U.S. government also is. So why would I not buy Stellar Lumens? Current events, common sense, and calculations tells me to do these things. I'm just telling you, start paying attention to all things that are happening. This is how you invest. You invest. You use the information that you learned over these past 12 weeks, and you invest in current events, common sense, and use common sense, and then you use calculation. Again, how do you invest? How do you use the information that you learned over these 12 weeks? By investing in current events, paying attention to people's perception as a whole, meaning common sense, and then you do your assessment, the calculation. And now that you see where the world is going in the future, that's what your calculations tell you, then you jump in. But do not jump in if you don't feel like this company is going to be around in the future. Because again, investing is all about being able to predict the future move of a stock or a currency or crypto, whatever you're investing into. But take your time, watch all these 12 videos over again, because it will make even more sense to you after you watch it again. you know, and then and how and they say repetition is the mother of skill. So if you watch all these videos over again, you're going to be an even better investor because you're going to understand it even more when you watch it all over again because of the information that you learned from the latter classes before the former. So now that you understand how to invest, when you go back and look at these videos again, it's going to make you an even more better investor, right? And I want to also extend to anybody that you can also DM me because I'm going to be hosting an options class, but that's going to cost money. So DM me if you want to be a part of the options class, learning how to invest in options and learning what options trading is, because options trading could make you 10x your money uh, on stock. So literally 10x your money, like a lot. I mean, I'd have made hundreds of thousands of dollars off options, in a matter of weeks or 2 weeks. I'm willing to show anybody, willing to pull up my statements or anything to show you that I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars off options, and I continue to make hundreds of thousands and millions off options. But that would be a paid for class because that's more of a strategic class, and it's more for intermediate. I mean, not intermediate people, but more of people who know what they're doing in the stock. So definitely dabble and do what you do. I hope you've learned from this course a lot. But we will be hosting an options class starting in about 2 weeks. You can DM me or put in the comments whether you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. I don't know where you might be watching this, but just find a way to DM me, um, find a way to message me, and also put in the comments if you want to be. I always reply. I try to reply to every comment. And again, I will be hosting options classes. That will be a Zoom class because I definitely have to take questions and give you answers, Q&As. Because options is a very strategic strategy, and you have to know how to invest when it comes to investing in options. And options have made millionaires instantly. So again, I hope you have enjoyed this 12 weeks of learning. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you watching these videos. I appreciate you gaining the knowledge to help yourself. And always remember, pay yourself first before you pay any bill, before you pay anybody. Pay yourself first. That means start investing, because at the end of the day, this is how you create generational wealth, and it's created no other way. Again, I hope you have enjoyed these classes. And don't forget to subscribe, follow, and like. Please do not forget to subscribe, follow, and like. It's the way of telling the social media sites that this content is valuable and that you want to see more of it. Please do not forget to forget to subscribe, follow, and like. And family, I will see you again probably in about 6 to 7 months as I start teaching other courses, but I will be teaching this course over again in the beginning of the year. Teach this course every single year. So I hope you have enjoyed it. I will be going live sometimes this year to accept questions and answers. Do Q&As. But in that, family, hope you enjoyed this 12 installments. Love you, and peace out to you, family.